I'm a guy that's 25. Lego Star Wars is my life. I like Ryan Johnson. I'm Rich Boy J. Hello boyos, Rich Boy J here, back again with another video, and today we are going to talk about some new Lego Star Wars set reveals. We have an X-Wing, a TIE Fighter, and Millennium Falcon. I know, you guys have all been asking for more iterations of these, and Lego has kindly given them to you. Jokes aside, this is going to be a very interesting way to talk about. I want to spend a little bit at the beginning of this video trying to critique these sets, but I think they're going to raise a bigger question and a point of debate that I really want to engage you guys in. So the one thing you'll notice about this entire wave is that these sets are considerably smaller, specifically the X-Wing and the TIE Fighter, than their previous iterations. The last Luke's X-Wing we got was $80, this one is $50. The last Imperial TIE Fighter we got, I think, was $60, this one is $40. Let's first look at the TIE Fighter. The first thing that strikes me when I look at it are the proportions. This thing really has some Star Wars Rebels proportions. That cockpit looks huge compared to the wings, and I mean, what more can you say about it, right? So the nice thing about this is I think the cockpit has a much more rounded shape than the last iteration of the TIE Fighter. I thought when they released the solo one, it didn't look nearly round enough. It looks like this one looks a bit more round, which is definitely a positive. The wing details also look quite nice. I mean, you have what you'd expect with the gray trim as well as the gray stripes that protrude from the middle of the wing. It does come with 3 minifigures. You have a TIE Fighter pilot with the 2 silver stripes, you have one of the updated stormtroopers, and you have an RA7 droid that looks to be unique to this set. It looks like it's sporting some unique abdomen printing, which is pretty cool. It's nice that this is in a relatively cheap set. It's a $40 set, so you'll be able to spruce up your Imperial Mox with some cool looking RA7 droids walking around. Next up is going to be Luke's X-Wing. This one is, like I mentioned earlier, $50 compared to its $80 counterpart from the previous iteration. It's sporting 3 minifigures. We have Luke Skywalker, Leia in her episode 4 clothes, and Jan Dodonna, which is freaking awesome. I love the fact that he's going to be included in this set. He is a unique figure. This is the first time they've made a Jan Dodonna. So if anyone's been working on a Yavin 4 mock, you can finally include a pretty important part of that scene with Jan Dodonna. Super excited about that. In regards to the actual X-Wing, at first glance, you know, it looks okay. It looks like a decent toy X-Wing, but as my intense Star Wars mind that really is trying to look for the details analyzes this thing a bit more, it kind of falls short of what I might expect. The most obvious change between this one and the last one for me are the engines. Lego spent such a long time with 3 stud wide engines, and then they went to the 4 stud wide engines, which I loved. I thought that looked better in terms of the cockpit, just the way everything scaled together, and also you got some pretty nice engine details on the last system scale X-Wing, so that was kind of cool. This one is reverting back to a 3 stud wide design, and because of that you are missing some of those details that you would get for the intakes on these engines, which is kind of unfortunate, because once they added that, I was like, man, like that is so cool, like that is such an important detail. And for me, at least, that's pretty important to the overall aesthetic of the X-Wing. The other thing that looks kind of odd to me, just it sticks out like a sore thumb, like it shouldn't be a big deal, but it really sticks out to me, is the front section. The nose of this thing looks so small compared to the rest of the body of the X-Wing. If you look at an X-Wing, the nose section, you know, for its diameter is wider than the body of the X-Wing, but because this one is smaller and you can see kind of the squareness of the body of the X-Wing like poking out from the sides of it, I don't know, that really sticks out to me. I'm not in love with that design. Another kind of weird design choice are the placement of the lasers on the wings. They, rather than being on top of the wings, are kind of positioned at the very edge of them, similar to what you see on a Resistance T-70 style X-Wing, which I just think is just kind of weird, right? Like, it doesn't appear to me that this was done to save parts. Like, I think they absolutely could have put the lasers on top of the wings, but for whatever reason, they're sitting right there. One nice thing aesthetically that they've done with this X-Wings is they put the spring-loaded missiles only on the bottom wings. Some people might say, oh, that's less playability, but for me, when I'm looking at this thing, when they previously had the lasers on all the wings, especially on the top ones, it really stuck out. So putting them on the bottom just really helps kind of obscure that and make it look a little bit more accurate as an X-Wing. The final set we have is a Millennium Falcon microfighter, and I mean, what is there really to critique about this? It's an episode 4 style microfighter. It comes with an episode 4 style Han Solo. Notably missing from this figure are his boots. I'm pretty much giving up hope on getting those anytime soon. But you know, the build looks okay. It's a microfighter. Like, I feel like I'd be crazy to extensively critique this thing. It is an episode 4 Millennium Falcon. This is shockingly the third microfighter of Millennium Falcon that we've gotten, but I guess it kind of fits in line with the episode 4 theme of sets that we're going to be getting next January. So okay, now that we've looked at the sets, there are a few super important things that I want to talk about. One for me is going to be the nature of these sets, right? Everyone always complains in LEGO Star Wars about the repetitiveness of sets. You know, we get our X-Wings and TIE Fighters so often and Millennium Falcon so often, and clearly this wave is not going to be any different. So how do people feel about that? My question to you guys is simply, are we as equally as irritated by this as we were with the last round of TIE Fighters and X-Wings? I would really love to know that. I mean, the last X-Wing and TIE Fighter we got was in 2018, so yeah, I would love to know how you guys feel about that. Me personally, I've always kind of defended this. X-Wings and TIE Fighters are crucial components of Star Wars, and these are things that really just should be on shelves at any given time. These are some of the most iconic Star Wars vehicles, and it's crazy to get mad that LEGO would put these sets out because I mean, they're super important to Star Wars. That being said, I do think there's an argument to be made about the diversity of waves. This most recent summer 2020 wave that we got was really good in terms of hitting multiple various points of important things in Star Wars. You know, we got a little bit of Clone Wars stuff, a little bit of prequel stuff, some sequel stuff, original trilogy stuff, as well as Mandalorian stuff. It was a nice, well-rounded wave. I really did appreciate that. From the official releases we've seen on this next wave, I mean, we're clearly getting this microfighter, we're getting the X-Wing, we're getting the TIE Fighter, and we're getting a Mando set. This wave, however, is very dominated by original trilogy, and I don't think that is optimal. I think in an ideal scenario, the summer 2020 wave would work as a very good template for any Star Wars wave. Assuming there's no movies or TV shows that are dominating the wave, I think it just makes sense to try to give us more well-rounded waves like we got with summer 2020. My next point, and the most important point in this video, has to be how do we feel about the Star Wars vehicles basically getting scaled down, detailed down, priced down. Obviously, the pricing for LEGO Star Wars sets has gotten kind of ridiculous up until this point. A lot of people have expressed, you know, wanting sets to not be so expensive, trying to keep up with this hobby, especially with the prices of these sets, does get kind of out of hand. But I'm not sure if the response they wanted to that was to have smaller sets. I always imagine that they just wanted cheaper prices for the sets that they were already getting. So my question to you all is then, how do we feel if this is the trend that LEGO Star Wars is going to take? Can we expect moving forward to not see, you know, $80 X-Wings and $60 or $70 TIE Fighters, but instead these smaller alternatives? I know LEGO is officially on record as saying to not really care about minifig scale, and while we do see that in some sets, I think everything they design is definitely designed with minifigs in mind. I don't think it's a coincidence that the last X-Wing was very close to what we would equate to minifig scale. Same with the TIE Fighters, same even with the UCS sets like the Millennium Falcon and Imperial Shuttle. Those things are all very close to minifig scale. I think it's crazy to think that LEGO just kind of stumbled upon those things being minifig scale without actually trying. I'm honestly not sure my thoughts on this yet. So obviously there's a huge market of people out there who will be very happy, very satisfied with these sets, especially since they're cheaper. At the end of the day, Lego is a toy. Toys are effectively for kids, and the fact that these sets are priced so well compared to their, previous counterparts means that more kids will have access to these sets. More kids will be able to have a freaking X-Wing, which is awesome. Like, that makes tons of sense. Like, I can't sit here and say these sets need to be, $80, $90 and super detailed, because there are a lot of people who aren't going to be able to afford those sets because of that. On the other hand, if I'm looking at how this affects me, how this affects my enjoyment of Lego, I think this is kind of off-putting for someone who is looking for something that is close to the realm of minifig scale. I think these sets are especially jarring considering the last 5+ years of us just getting, pretty high-priced, high-detail sets. Like, if this X-Wing came out instead of the 2018 one, I don't think it would be a big deal. I think that it would be a pretty seamless transition. However, looking at the scale, the detail on these compared to a lot of the sets that we've gotten recently, like, it seemed that the standard was set that, like, the Lego X-Wing with the details and the proportions that you'd like was just gonna have to be $80. I guess to summarize all this up, this is how I perceive this wave. The X-Wing and the TIE Fighter are smaller. They're considerably smaller than their previous iterations. What that means is the price is lower, and that's gonna make a lot of people happy. That's awesome. More kids will get it. That's totally fine. What that also means, however, for me, is that these sets are less exciting, I guess. Like, I feel like up until this point, every iteration of X-Wings presented an upgrade in some way, especially the 2018 one. The 2018 one really shined compared to the other ones, and this is really the first time that I think, at least with these Starfighter designs, that we've seen a downgrade from the previous version. What I'm really interested in seeing is how much that downgrade affects the general perception of these sets. My guess is that, people are going to be happy with these. Anyone who really cares to have a detailed version will go hunt down the 2018 one or look for mocks. The other part of this that I'm really interested in seeing unfolding is this the general trend of Lego Star Wars? Can we expect to see this across the board for our vehicle models? If this trend continues, then I suppose these sets are going to be considerably less exciting for me, but if it makes a bunch of other people happy, if this means that a bunch of other people get to experience the joy of Lego, then I guess that's how it has to be. That's gonna finish up the video, guys. I feel like I've really brought up a bunch of interesting talking points. Please let me know in the comment section how you feel about all of these things. Do you want to see this general trend of Lego continue, with sets being smaller, maybe less proportioned correctly, less detailed, but more affordable? With that being said, if you like what I do, go ahead and support the video by hitting the like button, support the channel by smashing that subscribe button, and I'll be back again very soon.